The real vampires aren't in movies. They're in your life, draining your energy, your soul, and your dreams. These modern day vampires aren't the ones you see in Hollywood. No, they walk among us, lurking in workplaces, online spaces, and sometimes even in our own friendships. They're the overly polished, predatory figures who feed off your energy because they've lost touch with their own energy. In other words, these energy vampires were corrupted by other energy vampires, and they are now out seeking fresh blood to add to their numbers. Historically, vampires were used in stories as symbols of temptation, corruption, and spiritual decay, figures that lure you in only to suck the life out of you. I recently watched the movie Sinners by Ryan Coogler, and I have to say, it's an outstanding film. It uses the vampire symbology so well that I was inspired to make this video, sharing the lessons from the movie without giving any spoilers away. In Sinners, vampires represent how corruption can infiltrate our lives, how people and environments can slowly drain our vitality through manipulation, greed, and the pursuit of power. Just like in the film, these energy draining forces don't just exist in fantasy, they're very much real. And the worst part, they can be the ones you least expect. Friends, colleagues, or even family members. In this video, we're going to break down how to recognize these modern day vampires in your own life, how to set boundaries, and most importantly, how to protect your energy from these toxic forces. So make sure you stick around until the end because you'll want to know how to shield yourself from narcissists and energy vampires before they suck you dry. In Sinners, Ryan Coogler uses vampires as a powerful metaphor to explore the dark side of human nature, temptation, manipulation, and spiritual decay. Set in 1932, the film centers on two identical twins, Smoke and Stack, both played by Michael B. Jordan, who return to their hometown of Clarksdale, Mississippi, and open a juke joint for the local black community. However, their success quickly attracts the attention of vampires, who represent forces of corruption that prey on the vulnerable, luring them with promises of power, fame, and immortality. These vampires are not just supernatural creatures. They symbolize the destructive forces in society, especially those driven by greed, ego, and the pursuit of power. The metaphor is incredibly relevant today. Just like in the film, vampires exist in real life, especially in environments where people are seeking fame, validation, or control. Places like the music industry, toxic workplaces, politics, or manipulative relationships. These vampires feed off your energy, leaving you spiritually and emotionally drained. They thrive in environments that normalize exploitation, materialism, and ego-driven behaviors. Now, if you're in any of these environments, like if you're navigating the cutthroat nature of the music industry, dealing with toxic relationships, if you're involved with a lot of people in politics, or are in working environments that suck the life out of you, we'll cover practical ways to defend your energy and maintain your well-being by the end of this video. In Sinners, one of the most powerful metaphors is how music is used to invite vampires in. The idea is that music, which is often a source of beauty and expression, can be twisted into a tool that invites destructive forces into the lives of those who create it. In the movie, one of the characters played by Miles Caton plays music that transcends into something supernatural, drawing the attention of vampires. Similarly, in the real world, the music industry often uses the allure of fame and success to lure young, vulnerable artists into a cycle of exploitation and spiritual corruption. The music industry isn't just about producing songs. It's about selling an image. Executives and managers, often figures who seem to have the artist's best interest at heart, are actually some of the most predatory players in this game. They prey on the temptations of fame, money, and status, manipulating artists into compromising decisions that ultimately take a toll on their mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. They promise everything, the world, the fame, the power, yet in the end, they only take, leaving the artist spiritually bankrupt, empty, and vulnerable. Take, for example, the tragic story of Selena Quintanilla, one of the brightest stars of the 1990s. Selena was a rising star who was manipulated and ultimately betrayed by those closest to her, most notably by her business manager, Yolanda Saldivar. Saldivar, who had gained Selena's trust, was a key figure in her life, but behind the scenes, she was exploiting that trust for her own gain. This manipulation ultimately led to Selena's untimely passing away. Selena's story is just one of many where artists' trust in the wrong people is exploited, leading them down a dark path that often ends in tragedy. And if you want to learn more about how Jay-Z and Beyonce might play a role in exploiting other artists, you can check out this video right here. We also talk about other figures in the music industry, such as the ones talked about here in this video I did about P. Diddy. The music industry is full of young, naive artists who enter with dreams of success and creative freedoms but are quickly thrust into a corrupt system. This system forces them to compromise their values, their emotional well-being, and often their very identity for the sake of success. These artists are sold a fantasy, one that promises validation, but what they don't realize is that they're being asked to sacrifice more than just their time. They're pretty much being asked to sacrifice their soul. In the end, the industry takes far more than it gives, and the artists are left spiritually drained, used, and discarded. It's not just about the money, it's about the cost to their spirit. And this is where the real danger lies. The vampires aren't just in the shadows, they're in the industry itself. In the music industry, many executives use promises of fame and fortune to control and manipulate artists. They don't just offer contracts, they offer a carefully constructed illusion. These figures often isolate artists from their families and support systems, making them more vulnerable to manipulation and control. With no one left to trust, the artist becomes dependent on the very people exploiting them. Tupac Shakur is a prime example of this. He fought tirelessly with industry figures over control of his music and image, often feeling that his artistic integrity was being compromised. Despite his massive success, the industry tried to mold him into something that didn't align with his true self. The struggle for control over his legacy was constant, and the industry's influence over him was suffocating. Then there's Britney Spears, whose life was heavily controlled by her conservatorship, led by none other than her own father. The conservatorship dictated nearly every aspect of her personal and professional life, stripping her of autonomy and reducing her to little more than a product. Her story is one of many where the true artist gets lost in the suffocating grip of the system. In the industry, many vampires use emotional blackmail, gaslighting, and manipulative contracts to keep artists in a constant state of dependence. They thrive by fueling self-doubt, convincing the artist that they can't survive without them. Over time, the artist's true vision is eroded, replaced with whatever is most marketable to the masses, leaving them spiritually drained and creatively stifled. And we don't just see this in the music industry. That's just a very big example. Although the music industry is something that the movie very ostensibly used as a metaphor, the same patterns exist in politics, where corporations tempt politicians with money and power in exchange for loyalty. It shows up on platforms like OnlyFans and in the porn industry, where exploitation is often disguised as empowerment. Even in the world of streaming and social media, bad influences and corporate interests constantly push products and narratives, steering creators and their audiences away from authenticity and deeper fulfillment. There's also the mindless action of groupthink and tribal mentality, which reduces people's critical thinking abilities, preventing them from seeing the actual truth about what's actually going on in the world, or admitting that they don't know enough about certain topics and then exploring those topics themselves. Wherever there's a dream, there's often a vampire there waiting to drain it. In Sinners, the vampire metaphor powerfully captures how artists are preyed upon, and it did an excellent job capturing a systemic problem of cultural exploitation. One of the clearest examples is how black music has been repeatedly exploited for profit. White executives and non-black artists have often built massive careers off genres like hip-hop, R&B, without giving proper credit or respect to the communities that created them. Cultural appropriation in music happens when white figures profit from the struggles, creativity, and authenticity of black artists, stripping the culture from its roots for mass consumption. They also did this with blues, country, and these white executives constantly try to do this with hip-hop. You can see it historically with rock and roll. Artists like Chuck Berry helped birth the genre, but it was white musicians who reaped most of the fame and fortune. Elvis Presley, often called the king of rock and roll, was heavily influenced by black artists, yet he became the icon, while many of the originators were left struggling in obscurity. Culture vultures don't just steal sounds, they drain the creative energy of entire communities. They profit off the pain, the joy, and the stories embedded in the music, while the real innovators often remain unseen and underappreciated. It's another form of spiritual theft. Our world is filled with energy drainers, so learning how to protect yourself is essential, whether you're an artist, a professional, or just someone trying to stay grounded. As mentioned earlier, they can be in your workplace, it can be even in your friendships or family. The first thing that you can do to protect yourself is to set boundaries. Think of it like an artist guarding their creative vision. If someone constantly demands more of your time, energy, or resources than they offer in return, it's a red flag. Boundaries aren't just walls. They're self-respect in action. Protect what's sacred to you. Second, trust your intuition. Many vampires won't appear threatening at first. They'll often seem charming, helpful, and even inspiring. But if you walk away from every interaction feeling exhausted or conflicted, listen to that feeling. Pay attention to early signs of manipulation, like gaslighting, guilt tripping, or subtle pressure to abandon your values. Another crucial skill is learning to say no. It's not selfish, it's survival. You have the right to refuse relationships, opportunities, or environments that feel wrong. Whether it's a tempting career offer that compromises your soul or a toxic friendship that drains your joy, saying no protects your light. Next up, we have being aware of emotional drive-bys. Those people who constantly unload their problems onto you but never reciprocate. While it's important to be compassionate, it's also vital to recognize when you're being used as an emotional dumping ground. Protect your peace by stepping away when needed, or by setting firm but kind limits. Finally, avoid toxic environments whenever possible. Whether it's a cutthroat workplace, a manipulative industry, or even empty, draining entertainment, recognize when a space keeps you trapped in cycles of low energy and self-doubt. Choose instead to spend time in places and with people that uplift, inspire, and nourish you. Your energy is sacred. Guard it like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. In a world that's filled with energy drainers, manipulators, and narcissists, it's more important than ever to stay grounded in your truth. Your light is your greatest protection, and the higher your frequency, the harder it is for these forces to latch onto you. When you anchor yourself with love, honesty, and self-respect, you create a shield around your spirit. You stop chasing validation. You stop falling for illusions. Instead, you move through life with clarity and power, untouched by the chaos around you. This is the real spiritual journey. Staying rooted while everything around you tries to pull you off course. It means using discernment in your relationships, your career, and even your own thoughts. It means protecting your energy not through fear, but through unwavering alignment with your highest self. When you stay true to who you are, you don't just survive, you thrive. And no vampire can take that away from you. Energy vampires hide in the propaganda that we consume, whether it's from mainstream media, independent outlets, or the content pushed by algorithms on social media that keep us trapped in bubbles and echo chambers. They can even be hidden within the followings of people, celebrities, or political groups we admire. If you want to learn more about how propaganda, cults, and other forces shape your mind, or if you're interested in learning more about psychology and spirituality, check out this video right here. Thanks for watching.